Hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before while laying in bed. Shout out, of course, to Saratoga Peanut Butter for making great peanut butter, and shout out, of course, to Lotus Flame Candle Company for making great candles. I don't know either, and I don't, and I'm not sponsored by either. I just like their products, and so shout out to them. As well as shout out to my dog for being cute and cuddly and wrapped in a little donut of love right now, the little fur donut. You can look up dog fur donut, and they'll tell you exactly how he's laying down. He's a cute, probably about like 80-pound black lab, but he still likes to fur it up. So shout out to him for being cute and being the muse for today's episode. Not really, but and then also taking in my film rolls today to CVS from my Nikon Light Touch so I can get that developed. So I'm excited to have those come back. Shout out to young Ansel, who is offering up to potentially send me a film camera so I can test it up against the other ones. I'm still on the fence. Not sure if I want to do that just because that means I have to make a review, and I hate reviews. I really do. Because I feel like I have to give you specs and numbers and things, and I don't really give a about specs and numbers and things, to be honest with you. It might just be fun to try out. But the XA2 should be here today, so at least I'll get my hands on that. And even though I'm keeping both now, I've decided I'm keeping both just because I liked how good it felt in the hand the last time that whenever the dud came. It's going to be nice to be able to compare them, because the cult following with the Olympus XA line is unimaginably high, and they feel like they're great cameras. It's just a matter of, sometimes I'm wondering, is it because you saw it on YouTube one time and someone said it's great, or is it because sincerely a whole bunch of people enjoy using it? Like, I'm just wondering if compared up to other cameras, would you notice that the Olympus isn't that great of a camera? So that's what I'm excited for, because whenever I take these film rolls and develop them, by the time these are developed and I get them back from CVS, it's probably gonna be a quick, cheap turnaround. I'll have the Olympus XA2 in hand already, shooting through a roll of that. So there's a potential that maybe I'll have a roll of, I'm probably going to put in Portrait 160 in there, already completed. So, it'll be a good timeline for me to have a week with that Olympus XA2 to be able to compare it up against the Nikon Light Touch. If it doesn't feel as great, then that means the images in that camera are going to have to be super banging compared to the Nikon Light Touch in order for it to really garner the spot in my heart of the ultimate point and shoot film camera. But this is all objective. To be honest, my Bell & Howard little point and shoot film camera probably could have done just as well. But again, don't have that thing. So like I said, we'll get the Olympus XA2 again. I know I've been saying that, but I really feel like I'm getting scammed here, and so I'm about to put another eBay refund, because there's no reason why this should be this difficult. So shout out again to Olympus for the great job you did with your little point and shoot film cameras, but more importantly, shout out to Nikon for the Nikon Light Touch. It's clutch. And I'm just telling you guys, listen, if I was a camera manufacturer, Canon, Nikon, even Panasonic, Fujifilm, Olympus, what I would be doing right now is I would be looking and saying, wow, everyone really likes buying film, and you know what? The cost of film has gone up as demand's gone up. So if demand's high, cost of film's gone high, and I see Ilford making the Sprite and all these cameras, you know what? I bet you anything, if I was to put out another autofocus point and shoot little camera, I can make quite a bit of cash off that. Don't have to make many units. Don't have to put much in there. It could just be something to where, I just use some pretty basic ass technology. It doesn't even have to be expensive, due to the fact that you're comparing them against point and shoots from the early 2000s at the latest. Why don't I make some extra cash off that? I really think, like I'm telling you right now, if Fujifilm was or Olympus or Canon, Nikon were just to come out with a couple more retro looking film cameras, point and shoot style, because I can't imagine them releasing an SLR or a rangefinder would go great, especially because people are still buying the M6 bodies and things like that. I just think that would be where you make your cash. I think you could do a quick cash grab, and I also think that would be pretty nice because those are going to have a lot more benefits, and they're probably going to have good enough tolerances, basically. I mean, these cameras are plastic. It's not like they're made, out of freaking steel and stuff like that, these point and shoots. So they're made out of plastic bodies and things, and they're very light. So, I mean, it's not like you even have to put too much to develop into them. And you could just, basically what I'm saying is, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you at this point? I mean, for you as a company, for a cash grab sake, and also from a marketing standpoint with the film community, I mean, you see what Ilford's able to do with the Ilford Sprite whenever it comes to their relationship with Moment cameras and them testing those things out. Imagine if you sent to Moment, Fujifilm, Olympus, Nikon, Canon, a point and shoot film camera to Fujifilm, and let's say you made a 120 point and shoot and a 35 millimeter point and shoot. You don't think they're already going to have bias towards you because the fact that you're the big name camera manufacturers? Moment would be all over that. They're getting basically free product to be able to sell, to be able to review and look at. That's getting them ad revenue, and the fact that they're going to order units from you and they're going to be able to sell them from their store to make more money. Come on, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer from a marketing standpoint. You understand that yes, there are things such as fads, and there are things such as false spikes in, basically consumer attention. But the thing is, when you see these false spikes in consumer attention, it's not your job to say that'll go away. It's your job to jump on that. Like I said, you make a limited quantity of these things. Like, it doesn't have to be 1 billion units or 50 million. Let's say you make 750,000 units or 1 million units for the U.S. market. I'm telling you right now, those things would be bought up. You price them at just below $100. Considering that to buy a used XA2, it's about $100. Like, don't price it at $200-300 because you're literally gonna shoot yourself in the foot. Price it at like $100 to $150, and it's a brand new camera instead of a used XA or something like that, or a used. I'm just saying, this is your chance to be a douchebag and get your money in, and I won't complain about it because it'll just be genius. And it's going to be a benefit to the film community. I mean, it just is. More people are going to jump onto film for film community and the film community. And so, I don't know. That's just me. If I was running these companies, I would have definitely done that already. I would have seen whenever William Verbeek got that spot on an NBC Spotlight, I would have jumped all over that. As soon as they started, as soon as I looked at all these trends and stuff, and they're on YouTube, they see these things. They're giving gear to Gerald Undone and Marquez Brownlee. Like, there's a reason why they're doing this stuff. There's a reason why they're giving this stuff to these YouTubers, because they're watching, they're seeing what's going on. I'm telling you right now, it would make a difference. People would gush all over it. People would jump to it. It's the same thing. Like if an updated Contax G1 was to be made, you're telling me that people would not, or G2, G3, name it a G5, G Millennium, Falcon, whatever you want to name it. If you updated that camera, I'm telling you right now, people would jump on it. People would buy that thing. Why? Nostalgia purposes, and again, consumer attention. It's the hype thing right now. And then last thing, man, because I feel like I took a whole bunch of time on that, an awkwardly whole bunch of time, is just talking to people on here, especially about the 18f2, 35 1.4. Some questions come up about character and lenses. Character and lenses is subjective. Kind of like how colors and camera systems are subjective. Some people like some things, some people don't. Some people love Fujifilm, some people hate Fujifilm, just for the colors. Same thing with Sony colors, Canon colors, Nikon colors, and everything's subjective. When people ask me, why do you say Olympus has the best colors? And I say it's because, Olympus has the most realistic colors. When you take a photo and you look it up with Olympus, everything looks realistic, and at the same time, there's enough contrast in between the colors, tell the difference, things don't bleed up. Like, they just do a good job of processing the actual color that is in all the images that you're taking. They do the best job of processing it. Compared to Sony, which processes that color but puts a certain cast on it, and Canon, which processes that color but puts a lot more magenta and just boosts up the saturation. And so whenever it comes to character and lenses, everything is subjective, because some people like the way a lens looks, some people don't. Some people look for chromatic aberration, some people don't. I don't. Some people look for sharpness in the corners, some people don't. I don't. People are always looking for something with the lens because we have an inherent thing in our minds where we always want something, but we're afraid that it's not going to give us the pleasure that we want. So we have to pick it apart to see if there's enough issues with it, or if there's just few enough issues to where I can overlook all of them at once. And in doing that, we've gotten so accustomed to talking shit about everything. You have all these different mediums for, we went from blog reviews to actual video reviews, and video reviews from people who try things out for a week, to where, you know, we learn to hate certain things about lenses and cameras. If the autofocusing system isn't as fast as this autofocusing system, it must be shit. Whenever it's not that, you can't tell a difference in use 90% of the time. Whenever it comes to frame rate, oh, well, this one shoots this frame rate, this one shoots this frame rate, and you're a portrait shooter. You don't shoot weddings even. You definitely don't shoot sports, but you have an issue with the frame rate. You know, and then with lenses, oh, well, this one has vignetting here that can be corrected, but we've learned to hate vignetting. We've learned to hate bokeh that isn't smooth and just a regular blur. We don't like streaky or hyperspeed or starburst background blur. We don't like cat's eye bokeh. We don't like, you've been taught and conditioned to hate all these things because someone on YouTube told you it doesn't look good. Now think about that. Instead of embracing the things that are with your lens that could make you stand out and look different than anyone else, you've been taught to hate everything that you hate about a lens or think is tacky about a camera, all these things based off of someone off YouTube told you to hate. Someone off the internet told you to hate. Like, think about that. Think about the fact, I know, I always talk about, oh, I don't like clinical sharpness, like it looks boring to me. I'm telling you it's boring. I never say these lenses are shit. 35f2 is a great lens. It's clinically sharp. 23f2, 50f2, 16 2.8. I've had all these lenses. I don't like them for me personally, but they're a good lens and they give you good sharp images and they look great. Period. It's great. But it doesn't give me that wow, that pizzazz, the gabagoosh, you know? It doesn't give me that. So whenever I use these lenses, I'm just not excited to use them. It's not a certain feel or a heft to them, all these things. Even with Canon, I preferred a couple of Sigma lenses to Canon L glass lenses. Why? Because I didn't like the feel the Canon lens gave me. Things like that. There's just certain lenses that you look at them and it's like, okay, well, this is a great lens, but it's not a special lens, and I can get the same look out of some other lens stopped down. That makes sense? So it has nothing to do whenever you're talking about character. It doesn't mean that like, oh, this lens takes sharper image and that's character, or this lens is better at chromatic aberration and that's a character. It's not a better or worse thing in a lot of these areas you're taught to judge every lens on. It is just a look and a feel to the lens. It's a look and a feel. Sometimes it's softness in a lens to where wide open, it's not as soft on people and it's better for their skin. The background blur. Sometimes it's the look whenever you're stopped down to 5.6 and the way everything looks. Sometimes it's micro contrast. Sometimes it's the, the flares that it gives you because it's not a perfectly coated lens. Like there are so many things that, it's the color cast, the hue that comes from the lens, because lenses can give you a certain shade cast in your photos. There are so many things that go into character that we don't even think about. But I just want you guys to understand, when I talk about character, I'm not talking about character in regards to the clinical things that you're taught to hate on YouTube. If a lens isn't tack sharp at 200%, oh, must not that be good of a lens. Must not be that good of a lens. If a lens isn't corner to corner sharp at 1.2 shooting at a chart, oh, it must not be that good of a lens. If a lens isn't, super wide with zero distortion, if it's not a 14 millimeter with zero distortion, it must be a shitty lens. Oh, it's not a good lens. It has distortion at 14 millimeters, or it's a 16 to 35 and it has distortion at 16 millimeter and vignetting and it's not that sharp. That's the things I'm talking about. I don't understand where we came to where we thought, and again, I mention this because when I was shooting on film with pretty shitty lenses, well, not all of them are shitty. So whenever I was shooting on film, I never heard anyone talk about bodies, what they can't do. Even whenever people were moving with autofocus cameras, my grandpa didn't really look towards the way of autofocus cameras because they didn't really, I remember seeing him as a young boy, it wasn't really that special or that crazy. I mean, it wasn't necessary. Now it's a luxury we have to have because it makes things easier. But imagine shooting weddings back in the day and having to get the kiss without autofocus. Those guys were badasses. But then again, you stop down. That's why I don't like bokeh horrors, because I don't understand. You're wanting to hit focus at f1.8 with two people kissing, and that's why you're bitching, because of course you can't get the shot. because your ass has to, anyway, it doesn't matter. But again, like I said, we're just taught to hate these things, and I didn't see that during film. No one really cared about how blown out the background was, and it's a digital thing. We moved to digital, people got on the internet, and they started telling you what was and wasn't a good photo. And it's unfortunate now, because once they started doing that, once bokeh became the big thing, and I blame Tony and Chelsea Northrup, even though when I started getting into digital photography, they're the ones who I watched, and they're the ones who taught me most of my things. They're the ones to blame, because they talk about that rich, creamy bokeh that you love. It's a creamy, as we see, it has a nice round bokeh ball, which you love. It's very, very good looking. Not that cat's eye bokeh that you see. There's a nice blurry background, really good compression with this long focal length. Things like that they always hound over. And even more, I'm upset with them because they're perpetuating right now that Leica digital bodies keep their value. Rest in peace to any idiot who believes that. So, it's just when I talk about character, when you discuss character in cameras, you guys have to keep one thing in mind: is that character is objective. Yes, but at the same time, when it comes to things that you consider character, and if you consider sharpness, all stuff, the character, why do you think that matters so much to you? And if you were to buy a lens without seeing a review, would you notice all the imperfections that you see in your camera? And honestly, if you go look at your photos right now, if you go to your Lightroom, go to your Caption One, go to your Microsoft Paint, pull up your photos and open them up and zoom in on all these things and look around them, and do you see all the things wrong with the lens that people said was wrong with your lens? Because I don't in majority of my shots. Yeah, sometimes I have some chromatic aberration that's pretty bad. Sometimes I have some purple fringing or ghosting. Yeah, I do have that. Sometimes I've misfocused before at the 18f2 or the 35 1.4. But is the issue as prevalent as people say? Does the fact that it's not tack sharp at 200%, when you're looking at that photo, is it that big of an issue? And just have an honest conversation with yourself. Is it that big of an issue? Because I venture to say that majority of the time, ever since you bought that lens, no matter what you heard, the good or the bad about it, you haven't even noticed either. You just notice your shot, the feeling it gives you, the composition, you're editing it, and you're putting that banger out there. You can do that with any lens. Just saying. So that's it for today, man. Think about that stuff. Shout out to Film Cameras, Film Corporations. I don't even know what I talked about. It was a little bit of a tangent, but Lakers played today. LeBron is back. Of course, Julius Randle and the New York Knicks. I don't know if they're coming or if Lake Show is going up there, but here we go for that 7 seed, baby. 7 seed, knockout number 2. Phoenix is what it's going to look like after the playing game, and then knockout number 1 Utah after the playing game, and just have to go through whoever the Clippers choke to. And so shout out to that. Shout out to the Dodgers for attempting. They're attempting. And a shout out to the Detroit Lions for not being the laughingstock of the NFC North this free agency. That goes to the Green Bay Packers for f***ing over Aaron Rodgers, and you guys deserve everything that you get because you disrespected and you did not do things to help out the guy who kept you relevant after the Brett Favre era. I want the Green Bay Packer fans to think about this before if you ever start shitting in because people are booing Aaron Rodgers. Imagine you're going to work, okay? Imagine you work for Ford Motor Company, all right? But you're not on the assembly line. You're the vice president of Ford, and they hire a junior VP, and they announce to everyone else while you're at the meeting and in national media, this guy's going to be our VP in a couple years. They never told you, and they still don't talk to you about it, but he gives you a phone call and says, hey, don't make this ugly and don't f*** this up for everyone. By the way, you've had your best years. The company's been the most profitable. You've already won them a few awards. Like, things are looking good. You're still doing your job well. But then whenever you decide, which by the way, it wasn't leaked by Aaron Rodgers, it was leaked by Adam Schefter, who didn't have any sources. He actually just made this shit up and they just went along with it. So shout out Adam Schefter for again, saying your sources say and not having sources. But again, then whenever it comes out that you don't feel appreciated and that you don't want to be there anymore and you want to start looking at other jobs, people start hating on you. That's so weird. Imagine your wife brings home a husband and says, in a couple years, this is going to be my guy. How would you feel? Imagine your husband brings home a husband or your husband brings home a wife or whatever and says, in a couple years, how would you feel? Think about it, you guys. So shout out to Aaron Rodgers and go suck a Green Bay. Have a good one.